Another Sunday, another loss. It's okay. Only 4 more weeks. Only 4 more weeks.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Subscribe or follow the show for free on YouTube, where I am live right now and live following every Carolina Panthers game. Only 4 more weeks. Or you can also check out the podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, because on Wednesdays for the rest of the regular season, I'm going to be answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions, either at me or DM me to get those questions into me now. Today's episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all in lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. The Carolina Panthers 6. The New Orleans Saints 28. Well, I guess I was wrong, y'all. I said the Carolina Panthers are going to find a way to win this football game on Crossover Thursday with Ross Jackson, the host of Locked On Saints. I said because I felt it in my gut. Well, sick to my stomach watching this game again on this Sunday afternoon. My God. The numbers, I honestly didn't really understand this until I looked at it again before coming on here live with y'all. And this is just incredible. The Carolina Panthers rushed for 204 yards and lost. They outgained the Saints 303 yards to 207 and lost. They ran 79 plays, 79 plays to the Saints 52. 27 more plays than the Saints, and they lost. And going back, looking at it, they ran for 204 yards. The Saints had 207 yards total, and they lost. This is just incredible. They find new ways to lose every single week. This team stinks. I can't help but laugh. How the hell do you do that? How is that even possible at the NFL level to put up that stat and lose? Why? Well, because the passing game is trash, garbage, horrible. The worst passing offense in the NFL. That's how you lose a game when you have 204 rushing yards to their 207 total yards. That's how you lose. That's embarrassing, man. It truly is. And looking at the first half, like both the passing offenses were terrible. I think it was Fox put out the stat. It was 58 combined passing yards in the first half, the fewest in the NFL this season and a half, thankfully. I mean, I would hope there was never a game as poor as that passing yardage-wise in the NFL this season up until the point in the first half this afternoon. But my goodness, y'all. Bryce Young was 3 of 15 for 29 yards in the first half. Just brutal. And Bryce looked awful. Just terrible in the first half. And they came out and they were at least taking shots. Mike Kay, friend of the Charlotte Observer, he tried to ask Chris Tabor, who was pissed off in the press conference. He tried to ask him, hey, you guys have been criticized for not taking shots, but you did today. And Chris just cut him off, didn't even actually let him ask the question. But they came out aggressive, threw the ball down the field on second down after they lost their offensive lineman, Justin McCray, to start off the game. So another guard went out, of course, that's what keeps happening. But they were aggressive, threw it down the field to Mingo, overthrew him, threw it down the field to Stephon Sullivan, overthrew him. That was a recurring theme in the first half. Mingo was wide open for a touchdown. You go back to January when the Sugar Bowl was going on and Bryce Young was playing at Bama, he does not miss that throw. But here in Carolina, after getting his tail kicked in for weeks on end, now he's missing those throws. Just awful to miss that throw. And when he did, connect with receivers. At least you would think it'd be connection. Well, like DJ Chark on that fourth down, we're going to get to the fourth down calls here in a moment. He drops the ball. So it was Bryce Young overthrowing receivers dropping the ball, or Bryce Young running for his life. And the only positive yardage you're getting on a passing play call was Bryce Young scrambling for a first down. That has been the recurring issue and theme all season long here in Carolina. Bryce was 13 of 36 for 137 yards, had a fumble, and that was a max protection. They were trying to take a shot. They had 8 guys back, 8 guys protecting, and they got blown up. Embarrassing. He had a 48.0 passer rating today. So awful. Bryce didn't look good. Hasn't looked good all season long. Yes, of course, a lot of that is on him. A lot of it is also on the receiver's inability to get open or catch the football, on the offensive line's ability to protect. And Chris Tabor was asked about the offensive line. He's like, well, they can block when it comes to running the ball. Okay, we're well aware that they can do that, but can they protect? No, that is a problem. And he's sitting there all frustrated, saying, I hate losing, yada, yada, yada. It's like, well, man, until you can fix the offensive line and their inability to pass protect, well, this is what the result's going to be week in and week out. But this is just incredible. Again, the Carolina Panthers rushed for 204 yards. The Saints had 207 yards total, and the Panthers lost by 22 points. 22. Now, turnovers were, of course, an issue. The fumble directly resulted into a touchdown for the Saints. The offense for New Orleans didn't do anything like all day long. Derek Carr, like Bryce Young, did not eclipse 100 yards passing until the fourth quarter. He was putrid. He was god-awful, but somehow he's through for 2 touchdowns today. Got the touchdown there to put him up 7, or I think it was 7-0 at that point in time in the game. And then you have the block punt, which was ruled a fumble by the league. And like, because Johnny Hekker, no one blocked on that play. Not people blocked, but someone missed a block on that play. Clear, as we saw, Saints player runs scot-free and just destroys Johnny Hekker. And thank God he got up, because I was concerned that he was going to be done for the rest of the game. That was not the case. Hekker didn't even punt the ball at all. Because they called it a fumble because he did not kick it. He just dropped it, trying to kick it, and got pulverized before he could even kick the ball, and the Saints took that back in for a touchdown. So even without those 2 turnovers, the Panthers still lose this football game because the passing offense is atrocious. It's the worst in the league, and it is beyond repair at this point in time as the Panthers fall to 1-12 on the season, a 28-6 loss in New Orleans. Again, only 4 more weeks to go. And thankfully, only 4 more weeks we have to watch of Thomas Brown's play calling, which remains an issue in Carolina. And there's no doubt that, you know what, Frank Reich, he had his issues, but Thomas Brown, he's got a lot of issues too. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. Whenever the game clock stops, that's time to order in with DoorDash. Order pizza, wings, soda, burgers, or even just buns on DoorDash and get it all delivered without missing the game. Score football season's best deals on groceries, restaurants, retail, and more. All of your favorite restaurants and stores from retail to grocery are on the app, so you can shop everything you need to get game day ready. Stock up on your favorite appetizers and order all your tailgate gear on DoorDash. And then get ready to watch your team win, or if you're a Panthers fan, which you are, watch your team lose. I've been using DoorDash so much lately, going to Hawthorne's Pizza like all the time. Mama Ricotta has got me some baked ziti. What did I get? Not baked ziti. What did I get? Penne alla vodka. Got that. Go check it out. A lot of great spots in Charlotte and wherever you live. You can get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. When you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23, subject to change, terms apply again. That's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more or on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCK23, subject to change, terms apply. Shout out to the 110 sickos that are here with me live on YouTube, as I am after every Carolina Panthers game, about an hour or so after the game finishes. I'm here live with you breaking down the latest Carolina Panthers loss. Only 4 more of them, and then we can move on with the rest of our lives and hope for a brighter future. which we may not get, but we'll see what happens. But man, Thomas Brown, good God, this guy is awful. Just terrible. Let's fast forward to like week 3 of the season when everyone is out here just screaming for Thomas Brown to be the play caller. I bet you feel foolish now. And I'm not saying that you were wrong to feel that way, but he's worse by far than Frank Reich. My God, this dude cannot call a play to save his life. He is not good at this. He is not. He may be a good running backs coach or tight end coach, but when it comes to calling plays at the National Football League level, he ain't good at it. He wasn't really good at it back in college at Miami. So really shouldn't be surprised he's not good at it right now in the NFL. Did not seem to learn a lick of anything working with Sean McVay for all those years, because we have not seen any of that carry over to Carolina. Now, the personnel is not great. They have a different guard every week. I understand that. The quarterback's a rookie, and he looks awful. So, yeah, a lot of that is a reason, but he has not done anything to help this team. The Carolina Panthers, in the 5 games Thomas Brown has been the play caller, have scored 5 touchdowns. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5. 5 touchdowns. That's all they've been able to muster up on offense. Now, they did score a touchdown in the Bears game, but that was on special teams. So the Bears and the Saints games, 2 games where Thomas Brown has been the play caller, the Panthers got a big old goose egg when it came to touchdowns. Embarrassing. Like this, I don't see when he's going to get an opportunity to be a play caller again. I really don't. I said this before, that Frank Reich honestly protected Thomas Brown in a way with the 0-6 start, because had they been 0-6 and Thomas Brown was calling the plays and the offense looked like it had then and does now, his ass would have been fired. So he's fortunate to still be employed by the Carolina Panthers, because if he was a play caller back when they started 0-6 again, he would have been fired. Instead, Frank Reich handed the play calling over to him because, well, that's just a natural thing to do. Something's got to change. And I told y'all back then, it's not going to matter. The team stinks, but sure, let Thomas Brown call the plays. Let's move forward with him being the only guy talking to Bryce Young. If he's the future, it makes sense. But what wasn't going to change was the Panthers all of a sudden being a competent offense. They are anything but a competent offense right now. They are terrible, and Thomas Brown is a primary reason why that is. 5 touchdowns in 5 games as an offensive play caller. Dude, you're never going to get an opportunity in the NFL again to be a play caller. Well, no, let's not say never, but I don't see it coming anytime soon. I don't know how anyone can sit here and be like, oh, it's not on Thomas Brown. Well, center stage, he's bad at this. Failed 4th down conversions were a problem today. The Panthers were 1 of 7 on 4th down. Now, a couple of those were in garbage time. Like the Panthers were down, they're like down 21-6 when they went for one of them, and deep in their territory. It didn't really matter at that point in time. There was one where they threw the ball, and well, we'll get to that one in a second. There was late in the game, they had another one. Just a couple of these were garbage time. But the ones that I'm like mainly concerned about are the 4th and 6 at New Orleans 46 in the first half, where it wasn't 4th and 6, it was 4th and 2. I think it was. What was it? 4th and 6 or 4th and 2? It was 4th and 2. I need to go. Dang, I messed that up. It's 4th and 2 early in the game where they're going for it. Let me double check as we're doing this live, because I wrote it down incorrectly, I believe. Let's see. First half downs. Where are we at? This is great podcasting by your guy. Let's see. Turnover on downs. It was 4th and 2. 4th and 2. Okay. I got it right. 4th and 2. I wrote it down wrong. 4th and 2 from the New Orleans 46. They throw the ball deep down the sideline to DJ Chark. Jonathan Vilma, who was just reminiscing about the good old days in New Orleans throughout the broadcast. That was super fun to listen to. He was talking about how it was a bad throw by Bryce and all that. Okay, whether it was a bad throw or is intentional, DJ Chark's got to catch the football. And that's what I'm talking about. Bryce is either underthrowing or overthrowing receivers, or his receivers are getting open and just dropping the ball like we saw with DJ Chark on that passing play. But it goes back to last week, though. You ran the ball for 204 yards today. You ran the ball well last week with Chuba Hubbard. Chuba, again, ran the ball well today. And you're deciding on a 4th down and short to throw the football down the field. I don't understand why they just don't run the football in those situations. You look back to later on when it's 4th and 1 at New Orleans 36. Now, this is a play that actually worked. Raheem Blackshear, he just slipped. If he doesn't slip, he catches the ball. It's a first down. But again, it's 4th and 1. You've tried this multiple times now and have failed by throwing the football. Just run the ball. Why don't they ever do that? And the one time he runs the ball on fourth down is the only time they converted fourth down all day long. I can't with this dude. Only 4 more weeks, man. Only 4 more weeks. I keep telling myself that, but he is just bad in these short yardage situations. The Panthers offensive line has been bad in short yardage situations for like a couple years now. For Thomas Brown, he doesn't even try to run the football when that's the only thing they're doing successfully. I don't understand why are you having Bryce Young drop back in an empty set when you run the ball effectively. I don't understand why he does that. The play should have worked with Blackshear. Yes, we all understand that. We saw what happened. But why not just run the football when that's what you're doing successfully? And it gets down to the goal line as well. Miles Sanders had a 48-yard run. The first time we've seen Miles Sanders look like the Miles Sanders we thought we were going to get here in Carolina this season. They get down there. Great play by the Saints defender to stop the Panthers there at the 2-yard line. But on second and goal from the 2 after you're at the 1 and lost yardage on that run, which maybe that's why he doesn't want to run the ball on fourth down. Just give it a try, maybe, Thomas. They try to throw the ball on second and 2 instead of trying to run it, or that's how they got down the field in the first place. And Bryce Young, of course, gets sacked because the offensive line can't protect. But for whatever reason, Thomas Brown is unaware of the issues on the O-line and the fact that they're a weakness. So he's like, well, let's just throw the football. And then they, of course, have to kick a field goal. Just those situations, they drive me nuts. Fourth and short, you don't run the ball. The second down and goal, okay, you had a negative run play on first down, but still, just run the ball. Why can he not do that? So Thomas Brown is a play caller, far worse than Frank Reich, and it's not going to change in 4 weeks. Only thing that's going to change is he'll be gone 4 weeks' time. Thank God. We can all move on. Hopefully, whoever calls plays next year. And I can't imagine it can be worse, but hopefully they'll at least run the football when it's fourth down and 1 and we're at the goal line. And that's how they got down there in the first place. So Thomas Brown is a massive issue in Carolina. Derrick Brown, though, is a massive issue for all teams that play against Carolina Panthers. He has had an outstanding season, and he is one of the few bright spots. Got to give him some flowers. And Evero, like, that guy should be a head coach somewhere. It should be here. It won't be here. But, man, let's talk about that defense because they played well. And yet another wasted defensive performance today for the Carolina Panthers. We'll talk about that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. PrizePicks is the most fun you'll have, winning up to 25 times your money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that include 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron James, who hoisted the NBA Cup on Saturday night. If you guys were watching the in-season tournament, I did not check it out, but congrats to the Lakers, I guess. But you can take LeBron James and Travis Kelce, Mr. Taylor Swift, at a 10.5 combo projection of 3-pointers made and receptions, and potentially win 25 times your money. PrizePicks is really simple to play. You can make your picks and submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. It's that easy. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for your first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for your first deposit match up to $100. As is tradition here in Carolina, the Panthers defense plays well enough to win the game, and the Panthers offense does absolutely nothing to help them out. That was the case again on Sunday as Panthers fell 28-6 in New Orleans. Panthers, wow, again, rushed for 204 yards and lost. They held the Saints to 207 yards on the afternoon. 14 total first down to the Saints. They ran 27 less plays than the Carolina Panthers, 3 of 10 on third down. Derek Carr was terrible. 18 of 26 for 119 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Did not need to throw a touchdown in this game, and they would have won the game. He was bad, really, and I give him, I guess. Well, no, I guess I definitely give him some slack because the dude was in concussion protocol like all week.
is playing with injured ribs. He's just banged up, and he went out there and fought for his team. So credit to Derek Carr, but he was bad. When Derek Carr plays as bad as he did today, you should be able to beat him. And when you hold any team in the NFL to 207 yards, you should be able to beat them. And I want to go back. Let me quickly do this while I'm up here, because I want to go back to the Falcons game. Wasn't it pretty similar to the Falcons' total yardage in that game? Falcons had 221 yards and won the game, based off of 2 turnovers in that game, of course. But that's same case. Panthers defense was excellent, and that's a game they should be able to win. Now, yeah, at the end of the day, they gave up 21 points, and 21 points, you should be able to win. That's competitive. Any competent offense in the NFL can win a game if their defense only allows 21 points. And the fact that the defense also probably got tired. I don't even know if they should have got tired. They weren't out there that long. The Panthers were out longer, I guess, with plays. I don't know. It's just it's frustrating to watch, and I'm sure all of you are frustrated by it all. And I can only imagine what Derrick Brown must feel like heading into that locker room. He was great again today. 10 tackles, 5 solo, had an interception where he bats it down, gets the pick. Just an outstanding play. The second interception of his career. He's someone who should get paid a ton of money this offseason. We're talking about Brian Burns and his contract negotiations. Let's go ahead and just put those off to the side, and let's get Derrick Brown shored up. Let's make sure he gets paid, because he has had a far better season than Brian Burns, and he looks like he's a better player than Brian Burns. Is Derrick Brown now the Carolina Panthers' best player? Maybe that's a conversation we can have another day here on the show, but he was excellent today. And the defense as a whole was excellent. I thought J.C. Horn played well. There's that one shot play, A.T. Perry, the Wake Forest player. He went out there and made a big play that got the Saints down the field to score a touchdown that effectively ended the game on the afternoon. So other than that, the secondary played well. Thought overall as a defense, they played well. And that's gets me back to Ejiro Evero. He has done a great job with this defense. They might not rank high in all the stats, but when you bring in context of not having Shaq Thompson as much time as J.C. Horn missed, Von Bell having missed 4 games so far this season, Xavier Woods missing time, you got to give the dude a ton of credit for what he's been able to do and get out of this unit this year. And we go back to the report earlier this week. There was talks about the infighting amongst the offensive coaching staff, in large part because a lot of these guys had not worked with Frank Reich before, and they're looking out for number one. They're not looking out for what the best interest of the team is. They're going behind Frank Reich's back and talking to the owner, and they're trying to find a way how they can have Andy Dalton be the starting quarterback and not Bryce Young. You haven't heard any of that on defense. And you would think defense is where they would have issues because of the amount of guys that have been out so far this season. There has not been infighting on the defensive side of the ball. At least that's not what's been reported. There's been continuity, which is important to have because a lot of these guys worked with Ejiro Evero. It's been different corner after different corner. They've had to put in new linebackers in there, and they have gone out and they have been competitive. They have given this team a chance to win almost every Sunday this season. If the offense just would give them anything, they would have more than one win. And that's the frustrating too about the thing about the season too, is the fact that you got 3 teams in the division at 6-7, and then the Panthers sitting there at 1-12. If they just had a capable offense like we thought they had with this defense, even with the injuries that they have sustained defensively, this is a team that's right there in the hunt for a divisional title. But instead, they're 1-12. Frank Reich's fired. And we're wondering what the future looks like. And the future should look like Ejiro Evero being the head coach of this team, or at least getting an opportunity somewhere. I don't see the NFL reporters are talking about it's going to be a bloodbath. There could be like 8-9 open jobs coming up here with the coaching cycle, which is awful for the Carolina Panthers, that there are going to be that many jobs available, because that just makes it even more difficult for them to hire a head coach. And they're going to be at the bottom. This is going to be the job that no one wants. And because they're going to be at the bottom, they're probably going to be hiring another coach in a couple of years' time, because they're just not going to get a guy who actually should be a head coach of an NFL team. But that's going to be the issue for the Carolina Panthers, that there's going to be a ton of openings, and they're going to be the least desirable job because of the owner. I don't even know what the general manager has been doing, if he's going to be here still. But it's an issue. But Ejiro Evero, and I'm sure he doesn't even want the job. Let's go back to what Diana Rossini reported last week, where he was asked in Denver to be the interim once they fired Nathaniel Hackett. And he said, nah, I'm good. This is a terrible situation. I don't want this stink on me. He wasn't even asked, because Chris Tabor, we wonder why Chris Tabor got the job. I think we can kind of surmise how he got it and why he got it based off of the reporting from this week. I'm not saying anything, but I'm saying something. But Chris Tabor, he was the only one that David Tepper really approached for the job, of course, and he has done it before in the past up in Chicago. But Ejiro has proven that he deserves an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere. And we can sit here, we can talk about they got to have a young offensive head coach to be the play caller and work with Bryce. And I'll keep going back to DeMeco Ryans down in Houston. The Texans, I know they got blown out today by the Jets, but they're 7-6. CJ Stroud has looked excellent. Hopefully he's going to be okay. He's in concussion protocol, but they have been outstanding so far this season under their first-year head coach, especially considering the expectations that there were placed on Houston. He is a defensive coach, and somehow he's been able to find an offensive staff that has gotten the most out of their first-round quarterback. You don't think Evero can't do that here in Carolina? He can't go find somebody, having worked where he's been at with Los Angeles. He can't find somebody to come in here and run the offense. And then if that person leaves one day, because that's typically what happens if they're successful, they leave one day, he can't find a way to replace that guy with another good offensive mind. It can work both ways. Like Kyle Shanahan, every single year is having to replace his DC because they're becoming head coaches, and the 49ers defense is still good. It can't be the same on offense. And I know it can be difficult to do. We saw Ron Rivera when he lost Chud, that the offense wasn't where it was, but then it got back being the number one offense in the freaking league in 2015. Like it can be difficult. I totally understand that. But David Tepper is a fool if he does not give this guy an opportunity. Like seriously, he should be a head coach somewhere. Would love for it to be here because you keep the continuity on defense. They don't have to learn a new system. I guess Jeremy Chin's gone because he doesn't want to use him, but you get to keep continuity there. Clearly that defensive coaching staff works well together. This could be an excellent defense if they can just stay healthy. I'd love for him to be here in Carolina, but he's probably going to be elsewhere because David Tepper is not going to give him an opportunity because he's laser focused on an offensive coach. That totally worked out for him last time. And I guess Chris Tabor is going to stick around too since he's David Tepper's boy and maybe James Campen. It's frustrating, but that's going to be our reality. Ejiro done a great job. Derrick Brown has had a career year. He needs to get paid before Brian Burns at this point in time because that dude has just been awesome this year. And the Panthers somehow found a way to rush for 204 yards and lose, to outgain the Saints by almost 100 yards and lose, to run 27 more plays in the Saints and lose the game because the passing offense is broken. Thomas Brown is awful at his job. And, well, the defense, unfortunately, they can't score all the points by themselves. So there we are. The Carolina Panthers lose 28-6 on the road in New Orleans. They're 1-12, and they're back home to face off against the Falcons on Sunday. Can't wait. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours truly, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe or follow the show for free right here on YouTube, where 150 of you are right here live with me. And thank you to all the folks that have come and gone to watch the show today. You can also check out the podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, on Twitter at Julian Council, where on Wednesday, I'll be back to answer your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions, either at me or DM me over on Twitter to get those questions into me now. But in the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. And as always, keep pounding, and I'll talk to y'all on Tuesday.